Ranking every pistol from World at War to Black Ops 4. Today we have 24 pistols to rank inside our team maker, starting off with the World at War Colt M1911, the very first M1911 ever into Call of Duty Zombies. It was iconic, a bit clunky, you know, it wasn't no Black Ops 1 shiny M1911, and the C3000 Biatch as the upgrade was one of the strangest weapons ever. No PhD flopper with this, very, very low ammo, so to be quite honest, I believe I am going to be leaving this one inside the B tier. I believe it belongs here. It doesn't really breach the A, and it's not necessarily anything too iconic in and of itself. Now, coming up into our next spot, this is going to be the .357 Magnum. This weapon is like your standard executioner revolver weapon in Call of Duty Zombies. It does the job, I would say, for all of the amount of damage it is able to do. However, I just don't believe that it is really viable past round 20. It's a very strong weapon, but as you can see here, you can get pretty caught up with this. World at War does not really have the strongest weapon or bullet ricochet throughout the entire game, which is why, again, there are much better alternatives. Also, the double tap in this old version does not help you out, but it's not a terrible pistol. At least it's usable up to round 10, so I believe I'm gonna have to put this in the C tier. Now, coming up next in our World at War weapons, that is actually it, if you can believe it. The next one up is the Black Ops 1 M1911. Now, the Black Ops 1 M1911 is absolutely iconic. This thing is the Mustang and Sally that everybody loves. It's the M1911 upgraded. It shoots the grenades. This is the one that everybody knows. And to be quite honest, I think this is the only one that should be really high up. This is the game that also introduced PhD Flopper. You can take full immunity with this. It has a ton of ammo. It's used for a lot of the high rounds. Look at this insane gameplay. There's so many incredible things that you can do with the BO1 M1911. The Mustang and Sally in and of itself is iconic. I am going to put it in the S tier. That is how good I think it is. It is literally equivalent to so many Wonder Weapons, and so many people know and remember it. So coming up next, we will be doing the dual wield and the single weapons as well within this. So I see the CZ75 dual wield here, but we're going to be doing both this regular and the dual wield CZ75. Now, the CZ75 is an incredible weapon because of the fact that it turns fully auto once Pack-a-Punch, and when you have dual wield, it is really good, to be honest. It's better than anything we saw in World at War. It can easily bring you up into those higher rounds within round 20 or even up to round 30 with the ammo. The big problem is that it does not have enough ammo for it to be viable. There's no double pap in it as well. So honestly, I am going to put the regular CZ75 in the C tier and then put the dual wield into the B tier, just because of that more ammo. The singular does not really help you out too much, but regardless, it is an iconic pistol weapon. BO1 has some of the most iconic pistol weapons, and next up, we are talking about the Python. I know there's one in BO2, but it is literally the exact same. This BO2 Python is incredible. When you upgrade it, it becomes the Cobra, and it is so dang strong. Oh my goodness, does this thing ever become an insanely strong weapon later on throughout the rounds. You can do so much damage, but the thing is that it won't probably get you past round 30 or even round 40. It is probably about a one-shot up until those rounds, and the upgrade is amazing, but yet again, 12 bullets, not a lot, and in the reserve, you're not going to be able to take out zombies past round 20 or 30. It's an incredible weapon when you get it from an early round because they instantly take out a zombie as long as you hit the shot. But other than that, I believe I am going to put this at the B tier spot for everybody here because, again, don't think it quite reaches the A tier, because A tier is anything that's probably going to get you up until the round 40s or even 50s. And so, yeah, that is going to be it for BO1. Coming into BO2, we have the BO2 M1911. Not much change from BO1 with this one. The only other problem I see is that it just got more ugly with this version. It's got more chunkier. It's just not that great. It pretty much acts the exact same. It's the Mustang and Sally, 6 bullets in each clip with the 50 in the reserve. Again, used in a lot of speedruns, such as the Buried World Record with the PhD. You can get perma-perks on here, but it's not like PhD Flopper on BO1. So because of this, I am going to put this version in the A tier. It's just below S because they did not really make it as good as physically possible. But a better version of the Python is one of my favorite pistols ever. This is going to be the Remington New Model Army from Buried. This was a Buried exclusive. And when this was in Buried, it was really iconic because it was very strong. This could bring you up to the round 30s, even 40s upgraded. It had quite a lot of ammo, and with Vulture put into Buried, you could do so much damage with this pistol. It was iconic for a reason. The Sassafras was a lot of fun, and even though it's not as much ammo, let's say, as the Wonder Weapon like the Mark II or the Paralyzer, it's probably one of the strongest bullet weapons in this entire game. So because of that, I believe it's one of the best pistols ever conceived. It belongs with inside the A tier. Now coming up next, we have the lovely B23R gang. Now my B23R lovers, listen, I know it's in the freaking transit bus, but it does not do enough damage. When upgraded, it becomes the Bear, which is really overpowered because it can do so much damage, and it becomes fully automatic. But the problem is that it does not do enough damage later on in the rounds. It's one of the best weapons for BO2 because of its wall weapon spots, especially in the Victus maps. But I don't even think that this is the best 3-round burst pistol that we've seen. In BO2, it was really good because of the wall spots, but other than that, that was about it. But for my B23R gang, honestly, I'm leaving it where it is, at B for the B23R gang. I don't think it needs to have anything more than that. Coming up next is the Cap 40. Now, this weapon, we kind of all know, is a pretty big joke. When you upgrade it, it literally only gets 180 ammo with 15 in the clip. This thing is terrible. I mean, it will get you to round 15, I guess, but outside of that, it is probably one of the worst pistols ever to be conceived in Call of Duty Zombies. And so I might be generous enough to put this in the C tier, but I mean, bro, while we're just watching this gameplay, the man is almost out of ammo in and of itself. And I believe for that reason alone, it's totally unviable. It can barely take out one horde on round 30 that you're seeing with this gameplay here. And for that, I'm actually going to give it the F tier. I'm sorry. It doesn't even belong in C. Cap 40, even though it was one of the first machine pistols we saw, it is one of the worst pistols ever in Call of Duty Zombies. And unfortunately, this trend continues. But coming up next, we have the Executioner from BO2. This was one of the strongest revolver weapons of all time. When you upgraded this thing, it became strong and could easily bring you to the round 30s and 40s. It had a ton of ammo, 100 bullets with the Voice of Justice. I would remember running this in a 2 or 3 player lobby when somebody would have the ray gun and you would not be able to get, let's say, the Mark II, or you were struggling to get it. The upgraded Executioner is incredible, and you can get quite a lot of ammo for this. One bullet can do a substantial amount of damage, especially with the double tap 2.0 introduced into BO2. I really do believe that this Executioner, without a doubt, is an A tier weapon, even higher than the Remington New Model Army. Obviously not higher than the the Mustang and Sally's from BO2, because those are just iconic. Even though these are technically at the same damage, I'm putting it in S because the BO1 version just looks so much better. This is a ranking on the damage, on the looks, and also on the game mechanics within it. So double tap 2.0 will obviously help a lot of these weapons. Coming up next is the 5.7 and the 5.7 dual wield. Now, honestly, for the dual wield weapons, this is one of the last ones I think we saw in Black Ops 2, for example, but I believe this is one of the better versions of the dual wield weapons. It's a single fire weapon that you can either have dual wield or by itself, and it can do quite a lot of damage. Unfortunately, you can get bullied like that, but it does a good amount of damage. It probably won't bring you to round 30 or 40 like the Executioner will, but if you pick up the dual wield 5.7s, you're pretty much set to run with that. And it does have a lot of ammo, considering one bullet is all it takes to take out one zombie. So honestly, the dual wield 5.7s, I am going to leave with inside the B tier, but the singular version, again, we're going to do the same thing with the CZs. I'm going to put in the C tier. I do think the CZ75s are much more iconic, and if I were to move these around, I think I'd put the B23 up here, the CZs, and then the 5.7s. Not really too big of a fan of the 5.7s. Coming up next is our last BO2 weapon. I think we all know what it is. This is the Mauser. Now, the Mauser, I don't think we really need to talk about this for too long, okay? The Mauser is an S tier wonder weapon. Without a doubt, upgraded, it becomes the Boomhilda, or like we all like to say it in the speedrunning community, the Zoomhilda. You can move 9,000 meters a second with this thing. It does so much damage. This is easily one of the best pistol variants we have ever seen. I mean, I don't even have to show you any more gameplay. We all know where this is going. This is an S tier by far. I would even put it above the BO1 M1911 because the movement tech that you can do with the Boomhilda is literally what has gotten Origins so many of the speedrunners. So without a doubt, it is an S tier wonder weapon. It is so iconic. Coming up next, though, we are into BO3. We now have the MR6. Now, the MR6, I think a lot of people can agree, was one of the most dull starting weapons that we have, yet it is one of the most iconic. It's pretty weak. It's very similar to the BO1 and the BO2 M1911 in terms of the damage, and when upgraded, it becomes the Death and Taxes, which is, again, exactly like the Mustang and Sally. So obviously we know it's an A tier weapon, and with Alchemical, you could say that this could be potentially bumped to S tier, but the problem I find on BO3 is that there's very rare instances where you will ever want to run this outside of like the Drak boss fight. It doesn't have as much as a prevalence as it did in BO2 and BO1, even though you can have Danger Closest, which is PhD Flopper essentially, but I honestly think that it still is an A tier. So I'm going to put it inside the A tier, but it's going to be at the bottom of A tier because, again, it's iconic. It's the BO3 starting pistol, but there were a lot better versions. Now, coming up next, we have the Bloodhound. Now, the Bloodhound was a unique starting pistol made specifically for Shadows of Evil, which I find incredibly fascinating because the Bloodhound is incredible. The Meat Wagon also gives you 8 per clip, which is 2 more than the original Mustang and Sally. It also is incredibly strong. It's not really used for too many strats with inside Shadows of Evil, but by far this is one of the best starting weapons we have ever received, and it does the most damage. You can easily use this base starting pistol well within the round 5 and 6, which is not anything you could do with any other starting pistol. So for that reason alone, honestly, the Bloodhound is so iconic within Shadows of Evil that I believe this deserves more than the A tier. This is an S tier starting pistol for Shadows of Evil. It's beautiful, it's iconic, the sound is meaty, it's an amazing starting pistol, and easily deserves its spot at the top spot. Coming up next, though, is the RK5. This, I believe, like I was saying, is the best starting pistol that we have with inside of all of Call of Duty Zombies. I really believe there's nothing that really beats this RK5. It is something that you can get off spawn from doing all the Easter eggs with inside BO3. Obviously, there's probably starting pistols in Cold War that we could include, but let me know if I do include Cold War for my next video, if I plan on doing this. I think the next one I will be doing is every single LMG from all of World at War to BO4. Let me know if you want me to also include Cold War, but the RK5 is incredible. You can buy it for such little points. You can pack a punch it. It is an integral weapon for all of speedruns. However, I don't believe that it is used for a lot of strategies and for late game, but it is incredible for the early game, which is why I believe the Rex Caliber 115 and the original RK5 both deserve to be with inside the A tier. I think it is an A-tier weapon, probably just below the Remington New Model Army, but it is an iconic starting weapon and probably one of the best starting weapons ever. Now, coming up next, a lot of people are going to forget this one, but this is the dual-wheel Marshall 16s that we saw in Zetsubo no Shima, out of all places. I know, right? Zetsubo no Shima? This is iconic of a dual-wield pistols. These are by far one of the best pistols. They're dual-wield. They only have two in the clip, which actually only shoots once. But it's a shotgun pellet, and the amount of damage you do from these when you upgrade this can easily bring you to round 50 plus, especially with the AATs involved. Obviously, I know including AATs, we'd put every single BO3 pistol in the S tier, so I'm not going to include AATs, but I'm including the base damage and the Pack-a-Punch version. So honestly, I have to say, this is probably the most strong pistol. So if it does not get an S tier, I don't know what does. Without a doubt, this is the strongest pistol. So it is going with inside the S tier next to the strongest starting pistol being the Bloodhound, which is absolutely iconic. Coming up next, though, is a very weird pistol, which was the Rift E9. Now, the Rift E9 it's got to be one of the strangest pistols ever. It's a futuristic pistol that is 2-round burst energy ball from BO3 multiplayer. It was only in Revelations, and it's a very weird wonder weapon. When upgraded, it's also not that great. It runs out of ammo pretty fast, and I don't ever really see people use this or run this. It becomes the Elder Invader when upgraded. It looks pretty cool on Revelations, but to be honest, I don't think it's viable for pretty much anything. Revelations has the Thunder Gun and the Apothicon Servant. It's not going to be used at all. So, ladies and gentlemen, without a doubt, I think this is a C tier. It's good to bring you up until about round 10, round 20. But outside of that, that is pretty much it. Now, coming up next, we have the LCAR 9. Now, this is one of the first fully automatic pistols we ever saw in Call of Duty Zombies. It's a cool look. It's got a bright yellow look to it. It's, again, fully automatic, but you can see on the gameplay here, without double tap on round 20, it's pretty bad, and it's probably one of the worst weapons in BO3. Again, with double AATs and double PAP, you can run it pretty much viably. But again, I'm probably going to have to put this in the same spot as the Rift E9 because I don't really see people ever viably using this within a strategy or ever viably buying this. And so I feel like it would have been amazing if it would have been upgraded dual wield and you would have had two of them. But that never happened and it wasn't an option. And so honestly, LCAR 9 is probably one of the worst pistols that you could get. I'm going to have to put it in C tier. It's definitely not as bad as the Cap 40. I think it's better, obviously, also because you can pack bunch it just does way more damage. But yeah, so that is going to be it for BO3. Moving on into BO4, we have the Welling or the King and Country. Now, the Welling is an incredible weapon because with BO4, you can get PhD and you can use the Welling on a lot of strategies for the early rounds and even the mid game because it becomes quite strong with the way that the BO4 system works. And it does have a lot of ammo. It's very similar to the meat wagon where it has 8 bullets per bullet or per gun. And even though there's a lot of better alternatives on BO4, including the specialist weapons, I do have to say that it's even better than the Trebuchet as well, which is the other explosive bullet weapon, because you just have so much more ammo and because it's just, you're able to fire so much more damage all at once. So honestly, I'm not going to put it in S, but I am going to put the Welling inside of A. At the bottom of A, because again, I do believe the MR6 and the Meat Wagon looks way better on Shadows of Evil than any other BO4 weapon. Now, I think what you guys are going to be surprised at is this next option here. We are coming up now with the Strife. The Strife is probably the best starting pistol in terms of any starting pistol with the melee variety. And what I mean by that is you can attach a knife on the Strife when you get a Mastercraft variant of it or when you use it enough, and it will literally be a one-hit knife until round 6. You can see on the gameplay here on round 5, he's able to instantly take out all these zombies, and you're able to get it upgraded, and it's fully auto and very viable within a lot of Black Ops 4. This is easily one of the best starting pistols and used in almost every single speedrun for the melee variant itself, and I think that instantly propels this starting pistol into the S tier. I mean, without a doubt, no starting pistol has this knife, and I think I'm even going to put it above the Bloodhound and the Marshals, just because that knife ability is so important and so powerful later on. Now we are going into the Mozu, or the Mazu as I used to call it, with JC Backfire back in the Blackout BO4 days. But the Mazu does have a pretty powerful Mastercraft with inside VO4 that gives you a scope and can do a lot more damage. However, I do find that this weapon is pretty much useless and will drop off very quickly. I mean, this is only on round 10, and this gameplay is just pretty abysmal. There's no double tap either in VO4, so pack-a-punching it 4 times doesn't even help out that much. And so, honestly, I'm going to leave this in the B tier. I don't think it's an A tier. I don't think it's a C tier because it can bring you pretty high up into the rounds when upgraded fully. And it's a pretty fun weapon to use, but probably not fun to grind camos for. So I'm going to leave this Mozu, even with the Mastercraft, in the B tier where it belongs at the bottom. Coming up next, though, is the RK7. Now, this is just like the B23R or the RK5, but the BO4 version of it. It's pretty cool and unique looking. However, I don't think it's very viable. This is round 15 gameplay. You can see it's struggling even with a double tap with kilowatt or anything like that. I honestly don't really see it's that viable within a lot of BO4 strategies either. So again, BO4 introduced a lot of really mid weapons, and we're going to leave it as a mid weapon option. Honestly, I think I'm going to put this with inside the C tier. I think the Mazu is better. You're really never going to run the RK7 past the mid game point. But, ladies and gentlemen, our last option now is the S-Car Go, and we're kind of going to end this on a sad point because the S-Car Go is not that great either. It's really like the machine pistols look really cool. Like, there's a snail on top of the drum mag with the S-Car Go, like, to symbolize S-Car Go. It's a cool looking weapon. There's a lot of wall buy options in BO4 for this, but will you ever really run this and use this viably past early game? Not really, not even in mid game. And so I really hope to see machine pistols within the next game get buffed. I mean, with Cold War, you saw it with the amps that those are insane. I'd probably put that into the S tier if I were going to talk about it, because that's easily the best machine pistol ever added into Call of Duty Zombies. And so honestly, with this BO4 variant, I'm not going to say it's as bad as the Cap 40, but I am going to say it's C tier. And yeah, it's probably better than the Elcar 9, but it's probably not better than the Rift E9 either. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is ranking every pistol from World at War to Black Ops 4. I did hope you guys enjoy. If you did, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in that next one.